I'm Kara, and welcome to Soul Inspiring Business. I believe that all of us possess unique gifts and talents that allow us to serve the world and our own growth in the highest possible way. Our lives are an expression of our thoughts, beliefs, and actions. And here, we will explore businesses, thought leaders, and topics designed to inspire, helping propel your own growth so you can live your best and most purposeful life. Welcome to Soul Inspiring Business. Welcome back to the Soul Inspiring Business podcast. I'm Chaffin Donofrio, your host, and we're continuing with our series of abundance, of allowing you to dream in and visualize and create and act on all the things that are going to get you closer to those the things that you desire coming into being. And it is about leadership. It is really about leading you into the best, most exalted version of your life. And this came from Marianne Williamson, one of the affirmations that I got from her many, many years ago was that I am programmed no more, no less than to be the highest actualization of myself on this planet and manifest creatively for my highest good and the highest good of others. I know that's a mouthful, but for many, many years, I would just write that out. That was a real big intention, was how do we, and I'm still doing that, because as we grow, as we expand, as we bring more of our creativity to life, whether that's in business or in your personal life, you're always expanding, always growing. And so then that brings life to new ideas, to new ways that you can continue to expand into these highest versions of yourself in this lifetime. And I just love the idea and the thought of that, we come down here to, as our soul, is born into this life, to breathe life into form. And we are the creators of it. We have been gifted with this amazing ability to create in each moment, to create, and maybe we create things we don't want. So then that allows us to pivot to the things that we do. And we're constantly creating in every moment, and we're constantly becoming more of this expanded version of ourselves. Because I'm sure if you look back and you look back on yourself just even 5 years ago, it probably looked like a very different picture than it is right now. And if there are things, and we can use that as almost a barometer to say, where are things going really well and what do I want to create more of? And also, what are the things that maybe I'm not as excited about right now? And how do I pivot? How do I use the information in front of me, this awareness of what is, to pivot into something different, right? And I think that also, if you're a type A person like myself, I think sometimes because I'm always kind of in this idea phase of thinking of, okay, what other things do we want to create and do? Sometimes I forget to take a step back and look at the things that I've already created and already done, and I don't give myself enough grace for that. So if you fall into that camp, I also want to give you permission to give yourself some grace and feel into the gratitude of what's right in front of you right now for all that you have done. And this series is certainly not to make you think that you should be further ahead in the path than where you are, but more to think of, okay, here's what we've created thus far. Here's where I can give myself immense gratitude, also some grace in maybe some missteps, and the ability to course correct and to really think of and get clarity upon what it is you want to create going forward. And Because again, as you've heard me say many times, you're always in creation mode. It's just whether you're consciously creating or unconsciously creating. And so the first part of this series, we talked about really grounding, about really coming home to yourself, some ideas, some techniques for getting really grounded and rooted into the incredible gift that you are in this moment. We also talked about the idea that as you ground, it also kind of gives life to, grounding into where you are in the physical presence from a physical standpoint, but also the idea of kind of opening yourself up to creative ideas and creative thinking and to align with that higher part of your soul essence. And then we talked about in last week's episode the idea, and I love this from Jen Cudmore, but she said, anyone can build a castle. That's like, that's just following a formula. But not everyone can create a heaven on earth. And it's not that they can't, anybody can do it. It's just that I think sometimes not enough people are focused on, how do we actually, they're so focused on the building that they miss the creating of joy and the creating of love and the creating of all the other things that go with creating this really joyous version of your life. And again, going back to what I said at the very beginning, if you could just expand into the highest version of yourself, the person that is fully expanded, what would that look like? And it started with really getting clarity on what it is you want to bring in. And sometimes you may not have exact clarity on what that is. And so I think it's important to sit with that and say, what is it that I want to do? What is it that I would like to bring in? And again, give yourself some time, some space, some, a week, 2 weeks, whatever kind of time it takes to allow the question to come into view. And in the asking of the questions, you'll start to receive more and more of the answers. And if you don't have clarity on what it is that you want, you can also look at, okay, what it is that I don't want and how do I course correct? So we talked about a lot of that. And then today we're really just talking about the idea of positive expectation. So once you are clear on what it is that you want to create, you've given yourself these roadmaps and kind of scripting out what an ideal day, what an ideal life would really look like for you. What would the feelings be of the day when you wake up in the morning, from the time you wake up to the time you go to bed? What is it that would fill you with joy? Once you've started leaning into clarity on those things, then there's this, it's then how do we bring that closer? What are the activities? What are the things that we can do in bringing all the ideas and the things that we want to come to life? How do we bring those just a little bit closer to us and start to see those manifest as actual physical manifestations of what we're creating? And, because we do create everything twice, we create it first in our mind and then into physical form. So first we've got to really take time to be clear on what it is that you want to create. And then that's that important part of the scripting and the journaling and the clarity piece. But then also, how do we bring it closer? So that's what we're going to be talking about a little bit more today. And I want to give you this image, right, of, and I'm sure this has been used many times over, but it's really just about planting a seed, right? And so when you plant a seed into the ground and the seed starts to grow and it starts to take form and it starts to grow and expand out, you don't see it right away if you're looking at the surface. If you're looking at the surface of the dirt, right? The seed is still growing, expanding. It's actually pushing its way towards the earth, towards the top of the earth to expand out as this expression. But it takes time. It takes time to water. It takes time to nurture. And It's actually all, whether we see the bloom yet or the sprout yet, it doesn't mean it's not happening. And so that's the image that I'd love to give you as you start to think about your ideas manifesting. So a lot of times what happens is we may have this idea of what we want to create, and then we nurture it, and then we get frustrated because it's not happening according to our linear timeline in a way that we can see it as clearly, especially as a type A doer, right? That doesn't mean that things aren't in motion. That doesn't mean that once that thought and that idea and this thing that you've asked for, the request out for the pieces to come together, it doesn't mean that they're not coming together just because you can't see it in the here and now. It may mean that things are beginning to take motion, and it just takes you taking more inspired action to get there. There's an element of patience that just has to come into play, because I do think that there are instant manifestations and you can instantly, I mean, I've sort of done it before with parking spaces and, just things like that, right? But some things, I would say there are people that would argue that in the quantum field, everything is instant. But sometimes our brain and for where we are as a person, as a soul in our evolution, maybe we're not quite there yet because we're just not as evolved. So for us, it may take, for you, but depending on how quickly it is to change your own mindset, maybe it's going to take a little bit longer. And so I just say that to say that, again, when you start to feel maybe a little bit frustrated, why is it not happening? Why am I not seeing it? Knowing and visualizing that seed that's still in motion, that's still growing, that's still just fighting for its little way to the surface before it becomes a sprout, before it then grows even further to become the bloom. There is a certain element of planting the seed and allowing it and nurturing it and then helping it grow. So it's not enough to just say, I am creating $1 million business, right? We actually have to nurture that. We've got to water it. We have to, fertilize it. We have to put things in place in order for that manifestation to become a reality. And so that's where the idea of positive expectation, I think, comes in. So there's got to be a little bit of trust that goes along with this. And that means that when you're planting the seed of what it is you want to create, in every moment saying, I'm so grateful that, all that I want is actually coming into play, even though I can't see it just yet. I know that the pieces are aligning for this to become a reality because I know that I'm destined for this. And so it's an element of, as we talked about scripting last week, and if you haven't listened to that episode, definitely go back and check it out. But as we think through that idea of positive expectation, and it is in what we are doing, saying, thinking every moment that will really get you closer to what you want or further away. If you're always thinking and having the thought of that it's not going to happen, or doubting, or if there's an element of that, then that keeps you further away from the actual physical manifestation of it becoming true. So one way I've learned is when people talk affirmations, I think of them as, you have to think of them in things that are going to feel true for you, because we're feeling beings. And actually, I think in the feeling of things is how we manifest things more closely to us. When you're feeling good, when you're feeling positive, when you have a positive expectation about something that's already on its way to you, then it's more likely to manifest towards you. And so how do you get there when you're so far off the scale? If you're on the scale of as a 0, oh, it's never going to happen, and the scale of 10 is it's definitely going to happen, and you're a 2, how do you get yourself to a 6, right? How do you move yourself along the scale of this thing actually being true? And One way is to say, even though I'm not exactly sure how it's all coming into play, I do trust that everything is on its way to me, even though I don't know the how. Right? That's kind of a way that I've learned that it helps the thinking brain get in touch more with the feeling of it actually coming true and gets you closer to from a 0 to a 5 or a 0 or a 6 to an 8, right? It gets you further on that scale towards, yes, I'm a 10 and I am absolutely 100% confident that it's on its way and I am taking inspired action every day in the momentum of that thing. So that's the other thing that I think is important is to talk about is momentum. We can create momentum in thoughts. We can create momentum towards a goal by the actions that we take. And are the actions that you're taking, are they aligned with the goal that you want to create? If you want to create $1 million business, but you're not picking up the phone, you're not, you know, um, looking at ways that you can create, if you're not researching the business itself and you just say, oh, well, I'm going to create $1 million business and then not doing anything for it, you're kind of missing the point. The idea is to get really clear and aligned with what it is you want to create and then make actions that align with that idea so that you're taking and take it inspired action. And that's where getting grounded back from the first episode is really important because as you ground into the present day, the moment, and open yourself up to all that is, then you can say, God, universe, source, what are the steps? What are the actions that I need to be taking today that are going to lead me closer? Sometimes it might be, and you may laugh when you hear me say this, sometimes it could be a nap. Sometimes it could be, I need to take a walk in order to get myself into a creative space. Listen to that. Listen, because honestly, the other thing that I think is so amazing about the universe that we live in is what if you get the idea that you're supposed to take a walk and just play this out with me, right? When you trust that everything, and I mean everything down to the minute detail, is aligning for you, that everything is aligning for whatever you said and you desired and you want to come into play, then I do mean everything. And so when you get the thought that, oh, I need to take a walk, or, well, let's play out the walk, right? And then you go on the walk. And because you're in the moment and you're just because that's what you are inspired to do in that moment, and it feels really good and you're really in a good feeling place, and you end up seeing this person on the walk and you end up stopping and talking, and then they happen to be some type of catalyst to move you closer to your goal because they happen to know somebody that knows somebody and put you in touch with just the right person you needed at just the right time. So was that walk productive? Hell yeah, it was. And was that walk an inspired action for you to be taking in that moment? Absolutely. Because when you're fully in flow and aligned with all that is, that all that is supposed to come to pass for you, then you have to trust that the ideas that you're given are being given to you for a reason. Now, you're not going on the walk to expect to run into this person that happens to be the person that you need at just the right time. But you're going on the walk because that's what you were inspired to do and trusting that all that is, that all you want to create is on its way to you. And so then naturally, you'll start to pick up on synchronicities just like that. It kind of seems too easy. And in some ways it is. It is just that easy and just that hard because we get into our heads, and think, well, that's lazy. I can't go on a walk right now. I've got a million things to do, right? And we start to get in our head that way and we hold ourselves off from the thing that actually was meant to take us to another place. So that's just how this works. And it's pretty amazing and it's pretty abundant and it's pretty incredible when we can get in flow. Getting in flow and having awareness around the present moment and what every moment needs. And so sometimes it may not be the walk. Sometimes you may say, you know what? No, I don't have time for the walk today. And today I've got to do this. And it feels like a yes. You're looking for the things that feel like a yes as you script out your day. Because sometimes also your body is just going to feel differently. It's going to feel you. So you've got to listen to what it needs. And all of it sort of works together with the idea that also we're really leaning into positive expectations. So expecting that all things, once you've made your requests, once you've gotten really clear on what it is that you want, and once you take action in each moment, and again, inspired action, that all the things are in motion, that you're moving in momentum towards the thing. It's the same way that as you are at the top of a hill and you start rolling a little pebble, right? And it starts rolling and it starts rolling. And at the very top of the hill, or a ball, right? And at the very top of the hill, it's slower and then it starts to get momentum and then it's just, whoo, right? Same kind of thing. In the beginning, it's going to feel a little clunkier. And you just have to continue to put yourself in this positive momentum of thought of creation and expecting positive outcomes, expecting that every place that you are in is an opportunity. The key also in this is awareness. So having awareness of when it happens, having gratitude for when it happens. If you go on the walk, you meet this person, and then there's a lack of appreciation for what that really was, which was this divine conspiring moment of forces, then you've kind of missed the point. So there's also an element of having a level of awareness. And I think there's an onus on us to have that, to say, wow, look at how these things come together. I am so grateful. I could never have scripted something so perfect. And yet, here it was. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And, I'll continue as I learn this new way of being, I'll continue to try to be more open minded to the ways that opportunities are coming together in every moment. And I may not be perfect, but I'm going to do my best and show up every day with a level of awareness that things really are working out for me. And so there's the idea of positive expectation and also having awareness and gratitude, really. There's a reason that so many gurus, so many mentors, so many people talk about morning routines and gratitude being part of it, because really that is part of creation, is being very grateful for all the things that come together and really appreciating the moment. It's also a more joyful way of being. Sean Aker wrote The Happiness Advantage, and his work has always really touched me. And it's all about positive psychology. And he really talks about, he's has incredible studies done of high level professionals, entrepreneurs, people at the very peak. And you'd think for all the accomplishments that these people have had, that they would be happy. But because they measured happy by getting the thing, they actually are never truly happy. And so there's this idea that actually being happy for where you are is actually the thing that has helped people create even bigger and more amazing things. There's all these studies that he's done, and it's pretty fascinating work. But again, the idea is that really getting into a space of gratitude is what has allowed people have gone on to create more impact, with more creativity, when they're coming at whatever it is that they're creating from a happy place. And the way to that happiness, and some of the exercises that he goes through in the book, are about really gratitude. In essence, a lot of different exercises for cultivating gratitude. So if you don't already have a gratitude practice, I would certainly recommend it. It doesn't even have to be that hard, right? It can truly be taking out a sheet of paper and writing down a few things that happened that day that you're really grateful for. It can be in the morning. It can be in the evening. The key, I would also say, is to think of new things that you're grateful for. Because sometimes what I've seen people do is every morning they're writing, oh, I'm grateful for my kids. And I am grateful for my kids, of course. But what exactly is it? Was there something happened that day that was truly special, that you're grateful for the moment that you were able to be there with them for this moment, right? It's more in recognizing the minutia of the day, but also the beauty and the love and appreciation of the small moments versus these big overarching themes. So a few things I want to leave you with for this week are, number one, remember the seed that's being planted. Remember that just because you can't actually see the physical manifestation of it in this moment doesn't mean that it's not happening. It means that it's growing, things are starting to happen, things are starting to work, opportunities that are coming together, and things are starting to align. And you've just got to continue to nurture, to fertilize, to take inspired action towards that thing, and that will help bring it closer. Second piece is just positive expectation, the idea of knowing that things are on their way to you, whether an affirmation might be helpful for you, but repeating some type of mantra that even when I don't always see it, I know things are always working out for me. So you're talking about that scale of getting you closer on the scale to 10 and having some type of mantra that you can say out loud or internally, because our thoughts are naturally wired to be negative biologically, that you can get yourself into a positive expectation that things are on their way to you. And then lastly, the awareness piece, really being very aware of the things when they happen and appreciative of those. So noticing and being aware of the little moments that are coming together to help you, the little shifts, because it is in the micro moments that the macro becomes clearer. So appreciate and love and spread kindness to yourself for the micro moments, for those mini actions that are making up a bigger part of the whole. Focus on that, and I will see you next week for week 4. And I'm wishing you all my love and gratitude for you being here. And I can't wait to hear about how it's all going. So please send me a message if you get a moment. Would love to hear about some of the things that you're wanting to create. And I'm sending all my love, and I do trust that they are on their way to you. Have a beautiful day. Loved being here with you today and would love to connect with you more over on Instagram. My handle is linked to the show notes, or you can just type in @Chaffin Donofrio. And I have something special for you as a free gift, my Dynamic Life Journal. This special book has the power to really help you live a soul-inspired life. Go to freegiftfromkara.com. Easy to remember, freegiftfromkara.com. Until next time, beautiful people, sending all my love.